Welcome to the Preschool Transitional Kindergarten Learning Foundations, or PTKLF, presentation of the Physical Development Domain. This pre-recorded presentation is part of the series of presentations developed by the California Department of Education in partnership with WestEd that follows the release of the PTKLF. And this is to provide a snapshot of each domain covered in the publication. This presentation is focused on the physical development domain, and we're joined by one of the writers of this domain, Rosalie Odine. For an overview of the introduction of the PTKLF publication, including its structure, organizations, and major revisions, please visit our prior pre-recorded presentation titled PTKLF Introductions. The agenda for today is to provide acknowledgements for the contributions of this specific domain, provide an overview of the organization of this domain, provide examples of foundations in each strand, one for fundamental movement, one for perceptual motor skills, and one for active physical play. And then provide an overview of the diversity of children's physical development, followed by a brief section on how educators can support this development. We'll then end with a closing and look at future pre-recorded presentations. We also wanted to take a moment to list some acknowledgements for individuals who contributed significant time to the development of this domain. In addition to the California Department of Education and WestEd team, we had our lead writers, Sandy Gonzalez from Nicklaus Children's Hospital and Rosalie Odine from WestEd. We also consulted with subject matter experts Patty Kimbrell from San Diego State University and Carrie Kretsch from USC. We also had specific reviewers who brought the lens of inclusion, cultural diversity, or multilingual learners. We had Flora Farago from Stephen F. Austin State University, Margaret Gillis from SRI, Dina Castro from Boston University, and Frida Bennett from the Quartz Valley Indian Reservation. We would also like to thank our many educators and interest holders who participated in focus groups and provided feedback. I'll now pass it on to our WestEd lead writer, Rosalie Odine, to talk through the details of this domain.
Thank you. I'll start with the overall definition, structure, and organization of this domain. The PTKLF in the domain of physical development describes 3 to 5.5-year-olds' ability to move their bodies, control their movements, and navigate spaces, which provides the foundation for much of what preschool children do throughout the day. The physical development domain is organized into 3 strands. The first strand, fundamental movement skills, includes the sub-strands balance, locomotor skills, and manipulative skills. The second strand, perceptual motor skills and movement concepts, includes body awareness, spatial awareness, and directional awareness. And the third strand, active physical play, includes active participation, cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, and flexibility. This is a sample of how the foundations are structured. Each foundation is numbered, with the first number representing the strand and the second representing the order of the foundations within that strand. The foundation on screen is from strand 1.0, fundamental movement skills, and is the first foundation in this strand, balancing while still. So the foundation number is 1.1. Next, 2 foundation statements appear underneath this label. In the left-hand column, we have the early foundation, which describes the skills and knowledge children demonstrate between around the ages of 3 to 4.5. In the right-hand column is the later foundation, which describes the skills and knowledge children demonstrate between around the ages of 4 and 5.5. There are a few important changes to note between the 2010 Preschool Learning Foundations in Physical Development and the revised Preschool Transitional Kindergarten Learning Foundations in Physical Development. There is a new foundation in the revision on hand preference, and the directional awareness substrand has been reorganized, which reflect the latest understanding of children's physical development. The examples throughout the foundations were also updated to highlight California's diverse population and include examples in children's home languages, dances, games, and other cultural practices around movement, and children using mobility aids and other adaptations for disabilities. Now I will present some samples within each strand. The fundamental movement skills strand covers milestones in the development of balance or the stability of the body across contexts, locomotor skills or large body movements such as climbing on a play structure, and manipulative skills, which describe how children learn to control objects, such as the control needed to draw with a crayon. This sample is the Fine Motor Manipulative Skills Foundation from the Manipulative Skills substrand. In the early foundation, children show some fine motor manipulation skills that involve using the hands and fingers to interact with objects used in daily life. For example, a child holds and uses scissors to cut out an approximation of a circle in their Diwali lantern. In the later foundation, children demonstrate increased fine motor manipulation skills using hands and fingers, with increasing competence and precision to interact with objects needed for daily life. For example, a child holds scissors with their thumb through the top hole and index finger through the bottom hole and follows along the lines to cut out a leaf for a paper flower lei. So you can see the progression goes from using some fine motor manipulation to using more advanced fine motor manipulation, like holding scissors in the correct way and being able to cut with more precision. The perceptual motor skills and movement concept strand includes skills centered on the relationship between the senses and body moving through space. Young children also develop perceptual skills related to their body and space and the development of strength and endurance needed for physical play and activity. This sample is from the Directional Movement Foundation from the Directional Awareness substrand. In the early foundation, a child moves forward or backward, or up and down easily. For example, a child moves backward or forward through a tunnel, or climbs up and down a slide during playtime. In the later foundation, a child might change directions more quickly and with more accuracy, including moving forward and backward, side to side, and up and down. For example, a child plays a game of tag by running away from and dodging a child who is it. The active physical play strand covers how children participate in movement activities, how active play supports cardiovascular endurance, and how children develop muscular strength, endurance, and flexibility in their movements. This sample comes from the cardiovascular endurance substrand, which has only one foundation, also titled cardiovascular endurance. In the early foundation, children engage in frequent bursts of active play that involves increased activity of the heart, lungs, and vascular system. For example, a child plays a game running with peers pretending to be lions, expending a lot of energy, and tiring quickly. In the later foundation, children engage in more sustained active play with increased intensity that involves the heart's, lungs, and vascular system. For example, a child plays chase with peers during the entire afternoon outdoor play period. In this progression, you can see children developing the capacity for more sustained active play, going from frequent bursts of active play to sustained active play. I also want to highlight how the diversity of developing skills in physical development is reflected in the PTKLF. The foundations were written to include children with physical disabilities, for example, describing locomotor skills or the ability to move the body through space, instead of skills like walking that not all children learn. Children with physical disabilities may develop motor skills more slowly or may move in a different way from other children. Some children with disabilities may use assistive devices like wheelchairs, walkers, or leg braces to move their bodies and to engage in exploration, play, and learning. Using assistive devices, children develop the skills described in the foundations, like showing an understanding of their body and space by navigating an obstacle course in their walker, or participating in active physical play by using their wheelchair to race peers on tricycles. Adaptive equipment can also support children's engagement in fine motor tasks. For example, a child with a disability might use adaptive loop scissors to cut paper without the exact finger movements needed for regular scissors. Offering adaptations and modifications for children with disabilities to engage in physical activity and play not only supports physical development, but development across all domains. Cultural practices influence motor development from infancy onward. For example, children learn about movement through dance, sports, and some religious practices. Children also develop cultural knowledge of tools and fine motor skills, such as basket weaving, holding chopsticks, or using a tortilla press. The languages children speak also influence how they think and describe their bodies and movements. For example, English verbs describe the type of movement, like running and jumping. In Spanish, verbs often describe the path of movement, like salir, which means to go out, or subir, which means to move up. Active physical play can also support some children in sustained attention and can facilitate learning. For example, a child who has trouble focusing or sitting still during a read aloud might concentrate better after engaging in active play, like jumping or a round of indoor hopscotch. I will now touch on some ways educators can support children's physical development. When setting up environments and spaces, it's important to consider children's needs for large body movements and practicing balance, spatial awareness, and engaging in active physical play. For example, you can consider how to build obstacle courses indoors or outdoors, use of balance beams and tunnels, swings, and open spaces for jumping off surfaces of different heights, and running and skipping. Natural spaces also offer opportunities for children to explore new ways to move, such as climbing a log or climbing up a hill. While most educators will think of these opportunities in outdoor settings, setting up indoor environments for big body play is especially important if outdoor time is limited, or for times when weather may not allow outdoor play. There are, of course, more safety considerations indoor, and precautions should continue to be taken with these experiences. If there isn't a dedicated indoor space for active play, hallways can be arranged as indoor spaces for active play. Tape can be used to make temporary hopscotch courses or lines for a stop-and-go game. Or children can practice different movements like hopping like a bunny or doing a bear crawl down the hall. Offering opportunities for children to explore and use a variety of tools and materials supports fine motor development. There are many ways to engage children in fine motor activities, but some ideas include setting up a Play-Doh activity with a variety of tools or objects, practicing using tweezers, tongs, or chopsticks to pick up small toys or food, using scissors to cut out different shapes or different materials, and also use fine motor activities using materials you already have. For example, on a hot day, children can paint outside with water, or children can wash paint off of toys using sponges or brushes. Games are also a fun way to promote physical development. In our approaches to learning domain presentation, We talked about how games like red light, green light, and freeze dance support executive functioning. These games also support physical development by offering opportunities for children to practice control over physical movement and balance. Educators can also lead children in games where they copy movements like balancing on one foot, or jumping, or tapping different body parts like head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Dancing can promote directional and spatial awareness as children practice moving their bodies up and down, forward and backward, and side to side.
In closing, for a more detailed view of the physical development domain, please read the full document, which is published on CDE's website. Future pre-recorded presentations will also be published on the CDE website as they are released. To visit the website, you can visit https://www.cde.ca.gov/SP//PS foundations.asp. Thank you for listening in to today's pre-recorded presentation.